Welcome to SQL Server Crashes and Critical Failures, where I'll take you through the process of how to identify, troubleshoot, and correct critical engine failures. My name is Mike West, and I'm a senior level SQL Server DBA and an enthusiast of everything SQL Server. SQL Server Crashes and Critical Failures is a mid-level course for anyone who wants to learn how to correct engine startup failures and other SQL Server crashes. Throughout the course, we will cover material used by real-world DBAs and walk you through a step-by-step process of what to do when SQL Server won't start. Because our goal is to get you up to speed as quickly as possible, we will cover several real-world scenarios taken from Microsoft's case history on critical engine startups and failures. Some are easy to identify and correct, while others are more involved. This course is designed for SQL Server learners who want to be prepared for the next critical outage in your SQL Server environment. You're a mid-level resource with SQL Server who's comfortable with the fundamentals and who wants to become more comfortable with correcting SQL Server crashes. Thanks for your interest in SQL Server crashes and critical failures. I hope you're as excited as I am. If you're ready to learn more and sign up for the course, go ahead and hit the Enroll button, or take a test drive by using the free preview feature. See you in the course. So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to set up the tools we need for the rest of the course. Now, there aren't many, but it's good to have those pinned to our taskbar for easy access. So the first one we're going to set up is the command line. Alright, so let's come over here and find a search button. Let's come here and let's type CMD. That was easy. Let's right click on CMD and we're going to pin to the taskbar. So one of the caveats of using the command prompt is that oftentimes it'll fire an error if you're not an administrator. So let's correct that right now. Let's see, it's not going to let us click on and go to the properties of the command prompt. So let's just unplug this. So let's come over here and search for it again. We'll type in CMD. Now we're going to go right click and we're going to go to Open File and Location. And it opens the location of where it is. We're going to right click and we're going to go to Properties and we're going to go to Advanced, and I want to run as administrator every time. Alright, so we're going to click that button, we're going to say OK, and now we can pin it. So let's right click and pin it to the taskbar. And now we have the command prompt that will open up as an administrator every time we do it. So the next thing we're going to need is the SQL Server Configuration Manager. And that is not too easy to search for. They kind of bury that. So let's go and hunt that down. Let's click on my C drive. Let's go to Windows. Let's navigate to, should say down at the bottom here, System 32 somewhere. System 32. And if we type in SQL Server MA, we get the SQL Server Configuration Manager. So we simply right click. We right click when it's highlighted. Okay, and we pin this to the taskbar. And now we hide that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is have to access some administrative tools. Alright, so let's go to Search and let's type in or paste compmanagement.msc and let's open that. And that's great. That's what we want. We want to be able to access the tools in Computer Management Console here, but we don't want to have to do that every time. So let's kill that. Let's right click, let's go to New, let's go to Shortcut, let's type in Paste. We're going to paste the Comp Management MSC. We're going to say Next. We're going to say Next. It's going to give us a nice little icon. We're going to take that icon and drag it down here. And we're going to see if it works. And it does. It allows us to access all the tools in order to be able to manage our box. And we can get rid of that. And we still have a nice clean surface. And let's group these. Let's pull this. We've got Management Studio down here. He's kind of off by himself. So let's pull him over here. So we've got a nice grouping here of the tools we need to use throughout the course.
All right, let's discuss the three categories of critical errors. The first one is stack dumps. These are situations that are considered fatal because the end result is termination of the connection that initiated the request that led to the stack dump. We'll talk about stack dumps later. Crashes. These are situations where SQL Server has started and is running, but an exception leads to an expected termination of the server engine. And in many cases, the crash is identified by a stack dump. And there's a category called other critical errors. And these are errors that are critical because they affect more than one user or more than one connection. These symptoms usually show up typically as an error in the error log, but it may not include a stack dump. All right, let's define what a dump is. It's a file containing a snapshot of a running process and parts or all of the memory space of that process. The snapshot also contains the call stack of every thread the process has created. All right, there are two major types of dump files. A full dump. This contains the entire process. A full dump can take a long time to run. And then there's a mini dump. This is a much smaller file that contains the memory for the call stack of all the threads, the CPU registers, and the information about which modules are loaded. All right, let's talk about the three default parameters that SQL uses for startup. Can you guess them off the top of your head by any chance? I couldn't. I got one. All right, let's go take a look and see what they are. Let's open up SQL Server Configuration Manager, and let's come in and right-click on the service. Let's go to the properties of that service, and let's go to startup parameters, and we can see there are three of them. And we can see it is the location of the, let's put it over here so we can see it. The master data file, right? The log, and the error logs. All right, so SQL Server needs those three things to start, or does it? All right, let's go hunt down a command prompt and see if SQL Server really does need three things to start. So let's go to, how about we go, let's stop it. Sure we are. Yep. All right, so now SQL Server is stopped. So let's come down here and try to start it. So net start SQL Server. Access is denied. All right, so why is access denied? Because I don't have rights. I am not an administrator. All right, so let's go find the command prompt again, and there it is. Now let's right-click on it, and let's go to Open File Location, and let's right-click on that and go to Properties, and let's come over to Advanced, and let's run as administrator every time we start that puppy. That way we won't have that issue, and that way we can pin this to the taskbar. So let's pin that to taskbar because we're going to use that. Now we should be able to start up SQL Server with a net start. All right, great. So from a command line, we can start up SQL. All right, so here we are in the log directory, and we can see we have some stuff. We've got some error logs, and this is the default error log. So let's right-click and let's rename this. Actually, you know what? Let's just right-click and let's delete it. We cannot do it because we're going to have to stop the SQL service. So let's go. Now if we come back, try again. Now it's gone. We've just deleted the error log, the default error log. All right. Let's delete this one too. I won't delete anything. Actually, let's just delete them all. Let's delete all the error logs. Probably not a good idea, but let's see what happens. All right, so now they're gone. Will SQL Server start with the error log completely missing? and you can see what happened. So you can see just what happened, right? So it did start, and it created the error log for us. All right. Now we can't do that. Don't go doing that with the master database, because if we go and delete the master database and then try to start SQL Server, bad things will happen. All right. But we can do it with the error log. So even though it needs those three things, all right, it will recreate the error log. Now, that's pretty interesting stuff. All right. So in this video, we're going to learn how to start up an instance of SQL Server using netstart other than the default instance. So how do we start a named instance? All right, so let's open up the command prompt and let's type in the name of a freshly minted instance I installed on this laptop or this virtual machine. So let's netstop it first. Netstop, MSSQL. All right, now we need a $sign here, so we want to type $, and the name of the instance. So the name of the instance is SQL 2K8. So this should stop our SQL Server 2K8 instance on this machine. Pretty straightforward. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing to start it. All right, so that's how we start a named instance other than the default instance on a server. Now, let's go ahead and start this specific instance, this SQL 2K8 instance, in single server user mode. All right, so let's go ahead and bring the netstop to stop it. There we go. Let's stop that. And let's go ahead and bring the start. Where's the start? Let's bring the start back, and let's go \m. Now, when we use this, when we want to put SQL Server in single user mode from the command prompt using this netstart option, well, it's often done when you need to restore the master database, and that's usually not a fun thing to do. So what we're doing here is familiarizing ourselves with how to do it, how to start it from the command prompt. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and look in the error logs. All right, so the error logs are a different location than the default. So let's take a look at the error logs for the SQL Server 2K8 instance. There's the key, right? It says SQL Server 2K8. Here's the error logs, and the error logs are our treasure trove of information. So we're going to open it up, and Notepad will work, and we should find out a warning somewhere that you have been started in single user mode. So right here is our warning. All right, it says warning, SQL Server is in single user mode. This is an informational message only. Well, okay, thank you. So now let's stop it. And start it back up without the single user mode switch. There we go. Now, it's pretty straightforward stuff, but it's not too straightforward in an emergency when you're trying to restore the master database and you completely forget the netstart command because you're maybe a little overwhelmed with the fact that your box is down and you have to restore the master database. All right, so what we're doing, and all we're doing, is familiarizing ourselves with the syntax and the command line options for starting SQL Server. And in this video, we learned how to start an instance other than the default from the command line, and we learned what the -m switch is used for and how to start SQL Server with that switch.